if you're not speaking, please put your microphone on mute. That cuts down on the static and makes it easier for everybody else to hear. Also, remember that you are being recorded. So as Dave Oswald reminded us a while ago, be careful if you're at video and audio recording, so you may not want to jump up real quick or think about what you're doing if you're only clothed from the waist up. So a couple of announcements this morning. This week we saw the launch of the virtual website, the Lakeville Cares. I think we saw that in the newsletter, and I think it's up and running. Tom Bonhoff, I don't mean to put you on the spot. Anything you would like to add to that about how this came along and where it's going?
I don't mind being on the spot, Ken. Thank you. No, just that I was just contacted last week about this. It's really an effort that's just being put together now, and it's pretty much connecting up the people in need with the people with resources and the organizations with resources in Lakeville. And it's Lakeville specific pretty much in this area.
Mm-hmm. And the thing I liked about it was it covers a wide area of needs. It covers housing, it covers food security, a wide variety. So I'm anxious to see how that evolves and what we can do to help with that. So thanks for taking the lead on that, Tom. And speaking of food insecurity, we just thanks to the swift action of the board this week, we are moving forward with grants to our food pantry, 360 communities, and the open door. We will be moving forward with a $5,000 grant for each of them.
Wow.
We'll get that out.
Ken.
Wow, thank you so much.
Yes.
If you can email me the addresses where I actually need to mail the checks.
Yep, we will get that. Thank you, Alan. But yeah, Lori, we got it all together late last night, or I would have called you ahead of time. So
well, thank you so much. That's so very generous and so needed right now. So we really appreciate that support. Thank you.
Well,
I echo that. Thank you. On behalf of the Open Door, Ken, thank you. You're
welcome, Greg. Well, I think it's basically we've all seen some of the lines across the country. We know in our own community we all have those needs. So basically, this is just kind of to hopefully bridge a little bit. And I couldn't help noticing, Lori, that 360 still has their match on as well. Correct?
We do. Yes. Yeah, so it'll double your donation, and because we have a donor who's matching up to $10,000, so Rotary's $5,000 will turn into $10,000, and then we also get some matching dollars from a Minnesota Food Share. It's not dollar for dollar; they use a formula, but there'll be more added on to your match as well. So it's a great time to give. So thank you.
Well, as they say, timing often is everything. So
yes,
it's certainly. I certainly think if you're in a service organization and you're looking to help your community, I can't think of a time when that is necessary. So we'll keep moving forward, and certainly, like I said, with the Lakeville Cares, if we identify other needs as they come forward, we'll look at those as well. So
great.
The only other announcement I had was we have our meeting next May 1st. That's next Friday, right, Kathy? The evening?
That next Friday is the night for connecting with Rotary District 5960. We have the Rotary International CEO John Hugo as our speaker. It starts at 6:30. We'll also be joined by Tiffany Irwin, who is considered the Rotary geek. She is a TV radio personality out in the southeastern United States, and she's going to just pump us up and get us excited about Rotary. And John will come in and give us an update on what's going on with Rotary. So you're welcome to join us. More information will be, check your emails from me this week if you haven't signed up, and please register.
Thanks, Kathy. And I would just add, this is this was in place of the conference of clubs that we were focused on, but I think it's a great opportunity to have access to those levels of officers in the organization of Rotary International. And I would just suggest too, if you have any questions, anything specific you would like to have them address, by all means, send a note to Kathy, and we will get it to district leadership, and they can be able to address that when they are there. I forgot to introduce or recognize our esteemed guest this morning. I know we have Tim Murphy from District 5950. Always welcome to have Murphy in the house. Always good. And Mr. McCafferty, are you on?
Yes, I am as well. Yes.
And thank you for joining us this morning. Are there any other guests that I have not noticed here?
That would be me. I'm Ann Messerschmidt. I am doing the presentation today.
Well, we're glad to have you here, Ann. Thanks
Sure.
for joining us this morning.
We also have Kenny. Kenny, am I saying it right? Closter?
You got it. Oh,
Okay.
Remember, Kathy, move closer to closer.
There we go.
But at this point in time, we got to stay 6 feet away. So,
And Kenny, who are you?
okay. I am sometimes I'm not real sure. I'm a Rotarian in the Greater Mankato Club, currently sitting in my office in North Mankato. I'm also a district governor nominee, which means I will follow Mr. Perez and Mr. Merrick. Thank you.
Well, we're glad to have you here this morning, Kenny, and I hope you're 6 feet away from that cat. You're maintaining your social distance there as well. One quick thing before we get to the speaker this morning. We did a virtual 501 this week, and those of you that were on it, I think it was a success. Any feedback? Anybody want to comment on it?
It was my first virtual happy hour, and it was pretty good. I mean, I thought it was going to be kind of weird and awkward, but I couldn't hang up.
I was pleasantly pleased. It was a great group of people, and people that wanted to talked, and other people just enjoyed the company, and it was fun. It was good to see everybody and just sit around and chat with each other. So it was. I think we will be doing it again.
Good. That was kind of my takeaway. I think just having the ability to connect, I think that connection piece is so very important right now. And so virtual is better than nothing. So I thought it went really well, and I thought everybody that participated had enjoyed it. So you'll keep us advised on when the next one's scheduled, right, Ken?
Yeah, we probably won't wait for an entire month if this keeps up. Maybe we'll just do another one next week. So,
well, we'll have to make sure we keep Richard's schedule in mind. We don't want to overtax him too much. So, speaking of that, Richard, how could we move forward without getting an update on the Taste of Lakeville? You have a minute or so for us this morning?
I got about 30 seconds.
Okay.
We do have a meeting afterwards, a couple minutes after we wrap up here. So, team members, please stay on, and we'll keep it short and sweet. We're still tracking for the new date, 26th of August, and it's falling into place. So, just in general, keep in mind the things all the members do with pulling together to get auction items and think about selling tickets and the new VIP, and the wheels are slowly turning, and it'll fall into place here as we get close to opening up. One thing we do need, if somebody would like to step up and head up our raffle efforts, be the raffle team leader, person who was doing that decided to leave the club. And so we have an opening there. We'd greatly appreciate somebody stepping up to head up raffle. It's not a really taxing thing, but have a need there. And I think we mentioned a little bit last week. We're going to tie Taste of Lakeville, add a little twist for community support, community service for the TOL attendees to donate and interact with some of the agencies around the community like 360 that provide support. And so that'll be a kind of a post-COVID twist to this, and that'll be interesting. More to come on that. So I think I'm at my 1 minute. So team members, if anybody else is interested, you can please stand by afterwards, and we'll talk more on Taste of Lakeville after the meeting. So that's the update. Thank you.
Thanks, Richard. Thanks to you and the team. And thanks for reminding me. I meant to include that in my opening remarks this morning. Jeff Larson has elected to leave the club. He's just saying he has some other things that he's doing in his life, and Rotary's just not fitting right now. So I think those of you that have worked with Jeff knows he's a pretty energetic, dedicated Rotarian. He's had a past before he came to Lakeville. So if you want to reach out to him and wish him well, we told him he's always welcome to come back, and he said he might. We'll just have to see how that works. But I did want to make sure everybody knows about that. So have I missed any other announcements that anybody would like to bring forward before we move to the speaker this morning? Okay. Well, as everybody knows, we celebrated Earth Day yesterday. What an appropriate way to have Earth Day. We had a wonderful, beautiful spring day. First time that we've had a lot of that this day, which is consistent. So I thought it would be interesting to get an update. Those of you that were veteran Rotarians, I can't remember the exact date. I think it was 4 or 5 years ago. We were involved with a pollinator project here locally in Lakeville. So what we'll have this morning is we will have a little bit of an update on the pollinator garden, and our speaker is a career environmentalist. Ann Messerschmidt is an environmental specialist with the city of Lakeville, where she's been working for about the last 17 years, conducting wetland and construction site reviews, planning events, including Watershed Cleanup Day, ensuring the city is meeting stormwater pollution prevention requirements of the state, as well as managing vegetation, native vegetation, at past environmental improvement projects. She also works on monitoring water quality at all Lakeville lakes and managing anything outside. I like that description, Ann. That's a pretty broad mandate, anything outside. Ann is the main person making the Valley Lake Pollinator Garden functioning at tip-top shape. And so here today, she's coming to us to kind of give us an update and an overview of what our efforts started a few years ago. So Ann, the floor is yours.
All right. Hello, everyone. An extra special hello to everyone out there that I know. There are a few of you, so hi. Is everybody seeing my screen okay?
Yes.
Okay, fabulous. So thank you for inviting me today. It was Earth Day yesterday. We had an online event that occurred instead of our usual Watershed Cleanup Day event, which is typically on this Saturday is when it was supposed to be. So we added an online event that you can check out, and it's still up. So if you go to the city's website, you'll be able to find it. I think they have it on one of the scrolling screens at the top. But to update you all on the pollinator garden at Valley Lake Park, it is doing quite well and is progressing nicely. When those of you who participated, this is kind of how you saw it when we started. It is it was a triangle area, and we had it site prepped and ready to go for a planting that happened. So now I just need to get, is it still working? I'm getting screens. Let's go here. There we go. Okay, so if anybody doesn't know where the Valley Lake Park is, it's located on the north side of the city by the Galaxy Lakeville Liquor Store. You can kind of see an overview there of what it looks like and what it used to look like. It kind of just had this triangle of grass area that really wasn't of value except for to walk through or maybe throw a ball for a dog. So I think originally how it happened is we were approached by somebody at the Rotary that was interested in putting in a pollinator garden in somewhere. And we found this location and came up with a conceptual garden layout and all the tools that, you know, the costs we might need, came up with a plan. And we estimated it'd be about $14,000 plus some in-kind services of the city to kind of maintain the project. And I believe the Rotary, according to my calculations or things that I found, donated $8,000 for this project. And the Vermilion River, to make it possible, because we often don't have extra funds for these kinds of things laying around, they kicked in $5,000 and we were able to make this garden happen. So it was actually, you were correct, it was 2016, so 4 years ago that we started planting, and 2015 would be when we started the planning process. So 2016 in June is when we went out there. We had all these little plant plugs, and like I said, the site was prepped, and we had this group from a neighbor, I think it was from Apple Valley, some kind of summer group that came out to help, as well as a bunch of you Rotarians. It was pretty nice day, and it went really well. And within a month, this is kind of what the garden looked like. Not as exciting as some would hope, but that the green coming up was reassuring that things were going well. Within that September, we finally had the wood mulch path installed, and we had received our insect hotel there. So some of the first flowers we saw came from those plugs, and that was in September. The one on the far right is a blazing star right there. And this here's a cardinal flower. That one was a plug, and we could see it pretty good then. And then this one is a spiderwort, and I kind of had it blow up there because that's where you see one of our first pollinators. There's a little hoverfly, kind of looks like a bee, but even by September, we had insects showing up at the pollinator garden. So in spring of 2017, we got the signage installed, which looks really nice and is holding up very well out there. I was very happy to see this plant in the middle. That is prairie smoke. That was seeded and not planted, so it's very cool to see that it was coming in. Gave me good reassurance that the seeding was done well, and we installed the insect houses or hotels, whatever you want to call them. They have lots of names. And then this first year, it was amazing. All the black-eyed Susans came up. Again, a very good sign that it was doing really well. And in the middle here, we have, it's actually a former park board member's daughter that had grown some butterflies from chrysalises, and she let them go in the pollinator garden. So that was, I really loved seeing that. So here's a little video that we did early on about that, and it'll kind of fill you in a little bit more. Hopefully it'll work.
Hi, I'm Ann Messerschmidt, the Environmental Resources Specialist with the City of Lakeville, and we're here today at the Valley Lake Pollinator Garden. And with me, I have Travis Teal with the Vermilion River Watershed.
Hello.
Thanks for coming, Travis.
You're welcome.
We just wanted to thank them today for partnering us on this project and kind of go over what's been happening at this 1-year anniversary of the Pollinator Garden. So a little history about Valley Lake and this project. The Rotary had approached us with an interest in putting in a pollinator garden. So we came up with this area. It felt like a natural fit. This used to be just a triangle of grass, and it's located nearby some other shoreline restoration, so it's a good matching for kind of increased pollinators in this area. So we came up with the idea. We approached the Vermilion River Watershed for some assistance.
The Vermilion River Watershed has goals to
keep going there.
Improve water quality as well as improving water quantity, whether it be surface water or groundwater in the watershed. So when we were approached about the idea of doing a pollinator garden, it fit pretty well with the idea of taking turf grass out, which is usually a higher maintenance product and putting in lower maintenance natives in. The idea that we can use pollinator-friendly species was kind of a bonus. So we are using less irrigation for the water, using less fertilizer, both which improve our surface waters and groundwater. So we were pretty pleased with the idea, and we utilized our stewardship grant to work with the city and the Rotary to put the project in.
Yeah, and it all went really well. We planted it then last fall. This is its first growing season. We're very pleased with what we're finding out here. Very minimal weeds. A lot of this black-eyed Susan that we mostly see out here is indicative that our seeding is there and is going to come up really well. So we'll start seeing a lot of increased species. The stakes that you might see spaced around are marking plant clusters that we planted out there, and we did work with a group in Apple Valley, some students who wanted to do that, and that went really well. So we had some volunteer involvement in planting this garden. And we've recently installed the signage, the education, and we focus on different areas about the pollinator garden, so come and check those out. And we installed an insect hotel, which is really fun to see. So just a reminder, this pollinator garden is out here at Valley Lake Park off of County Road 46.
Okay, so did that work for everybody? All right. It's always weird to watch yourself on video. I always give the same critiques of myself. And I said fall when it was summer, but you know. So just to talk briefly a little bit about the plants that are in the pollinator garden. This list here, I know you can't see very well, but it shows about 33 different species, and the kind of area on the right is the months from April to October, and it shows kind of the flowering times of those different species. So the main goal with the pollinator garden is to make sure something is blooming all the time. I have noticed in the fall there seems to be a little bit of a lag, at least the last 3 years of before the asters come out, but they do come out, and it's very heavily visited, and it's been very fun to watch. So to go into a couple more of those plants, we have the strawberries here. We put a bunch of those in. They're wild strawberries to have ground cover to help us manage the weeds. They started growing really well. You can see they have these little white flowers that the pollinators love. And then we have this oxeye sunflower here that's very pretty, and a purple prairie clover, just a couple of pretty pictures I had of them. And just kind of looking at it over the years, again, this was the first growing season, and I would say July is the best time to go out and see it in all of its glory. Each season, of course, has its different perks and different plants that you'll see, but when you come in late June, early July, it is a sight to see. So that was the first year, and this is the second growing season. So there you can already see it has changed a lot from the solid black-eyed Susans to being a bunch of different varieties. We see some blue vervain there. The white flowers that you see is daisy fleabane, and we had a few other things, which is very typical for the second year of growth. So we did some selective mowing. It kind of freaks some people out. Why are you mowing the flowers down? But we were really trying to get after the species that could be problematic and phase out the good plants that are out there. So we had to do some selective removal. But this was July of this last year through its third growing season, and it had a very wide variety, far less of that daisy fleabane that you can see there. And everything was just going very well. And here it is in the fall. So there's some of those, I think those are sky blue asters that came in. And it was kind of funny because I thought maybe they were, but they also kind of looked like a weed. So I kept consulting with the management crew. I'm like, can we verify that this is what this is? And luckily it was. So it was a big barrage of asters that were out there. And so I'm going to talk now a little here about some of the pollinators we've seen. It's a little difficult to capture them on photograph, as I don't have time to just sit out there and photograph them all the time, although I'm sure I get accused of that. I'm sure I stay there a little longer than could be at times, just because there's so many things to see. But this here is a picture that shows, there was a little butterfly in there, but no, I just zoomed away from it. Let's see if I can get back. Oh, no, there we go. Right there, there's a monarch butterfly going through. No, then I always go the wrong way when I use that wheel. So here is Asclepias tuberosum, which is butterfly milkweed, and it's being visited there by, I think, two-spotted bumblebee. I think this is a little hoverfly in the middle. And here's some black-eyed Susans with a honeybee at it, as well as a little beetle. Lots of different pollinators and insects that love these plants. Here's a soldier beetle on a really cool plant. This is rattlesnake master. It's actually pretty tall and really odd looking, and it's white. So if you ever see it and it looks kind of spiky, that's rattlesnake master. There's kind of some native grass in front of it there in that photo. Some side oats grama. And then we have here the butterflies, the most exciting visitors I think that most people love to see out there. On the left is a monarch, and it's hanging out on some milkweed, and the milkweed, we didn't seed or plant, it did just kind of show up, which we're fine with as long as it doesn't get too out of control. So far it's been a manageable amount, so we just kind of keep it there because we want to obviously support the monarch butterfly. And I think this is a red admiral to the right, or a painted lady, one of the two. I was going to check, but I never had time. And it's just kind of side view of it, and that is on a New England aster. I'm better at my plants than I am at the insects. It's been many years since college at this point. So here, I like this video the best because it shows it. Both videos were just a little bit past prime than I would have wanted them to get out there. So I'm gonna make a note to have them ready to go right at the beginning of July to really capture it, hopefully this year. But here is, you really get to see some pollinators in action in this one.
Messerschmidt, the Environmental Resources Specialist with the City of Lakeville, and we're here today at the Valley Lake Pollinator Garden, which is located off of County Road 46 and Galaxy Avenue, kind of near the Lakeville Liquor Store. We created this pollinator garden back in 2016 with a grant from the Vermilion River Watershed, and the Rotary also worked with us on this project. It was kind of a neat area where we decided we wanted a pollinator garden somewhere. We found this perfect parcel between some trails where it had a kind of a natural border, and we're able to supplement the soils, and then we seeded it with native grass and flowers. And then we had a bunch of volunteers come in from a summer group as well as from the Rotary and the area. And we planted pockets of different plants so that we kind of had bursts of different plants in different areas. And it's turned out really well. We are now in the summer of 2019, and things are growing really well. We've got yarrow out here, bee balm, hyssop, ironweed, gray-headed coneflower, purple coneflower, just so many different things that are blooming at any given time. We kind of have a neat feature out here of an insect hotel that you can check out. And there's also like 3 different educational signs that talk about the importance of native plants for water quality, as well as general information about pollinator gardens and about pollinators, and just some interesting fun facts. So you can walk right through the garden out here, and you can also check out different shoreline plantings around the lake. It's a great place to come check out. If you have any further questions, you can give me a call at 952.
I wrap up again. So it's fun to try to get other videos here. Okay. So just to kind of wrap things up, I hope you liked that video. It really showcases kind of what it looked like a little bit more, as well as the pollinators that are active out there. Those hummingbird moths are super cool. But so maintenance out there in 2016, obviously it wasn't needed because that's when it was installed. And then 2017, it was kind of part of the contract with Prairie Restorations, who did that prep work for the site. In 2018, we spent $1,250, and we did that with Minnesota Native Landscapes. That's pretty typical early on, especially when they had to do that very intensive selective mowing of the area. And in 2019, we only spent $380. It was actually scheduled to be more, but Prairie Restorations wasn't able to get out there for a third time. So we'll see how that affects things this year. It should be okay. It was doing quite well. And then this year it's estimated to be about $630, but currently it is planned to do a spring burn, which is about $800. So that'll bring it up to the $1,430. But we're just unsure if we'll be able to get to it. They have a lot of sites they have to get to. The site conditions have to be exactly right. If they don't get into the spring, I will aim for the fall. The burns just do an amazing job supporting the natives and hitting back the weeds. We've had a fair amount of variety of different weeds in there, even some buckthorn and stuff, but it just kind of blows in. But it is very minimal, really, just a variety and nothing that has been very difficult to manage. It's all just kind of spot spraying and we're able to get at it. So I expect 2020 to be a really good year. For the garden, it'll be different if it's burned or if it's not. Right now it has a bunch of thatch on it from the vegetation that was there in the fall. And we kind of leave that there because it still gives a lot of habitat for all these pollinators to overwinter in and stuff. And hopefully they're waking up and getting out of there before we remove the thatch, either mechanically or by a burn. And I just wanted to say that this pollinator garden is actually one of my favorite places to go and visit and see how it's doing. Thank you to whoever had the idea and getting it started and going with the city. It's a very, very cool place to visit. One day it was probably when I took this picture, I saw a couple walking into the park and I just had to say, have you seen the pollinator garden? It looks so good. And they were just gushed over it. So it's very welcome by the community. And I just wanted to open it up to see if there are any questions.
So this is Judy Kelleher, and I was one that helped plant that. So it's really fun to see what it looks like today and where it's gone to. I have not been over that way for a while, and it'll get me to go over there to see it. So thank you for sharing an update on that. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. You got to get there and see it. Plan for July. Mark your calendar.
Yeah.
Are there any more pollinator gardens planned for the future?
Yes. Actually, we were going to work within the same park. We were looking at, sorry, got a text there. We were looking at doing it right at the beach. And that's because the water quality is not that great in the lake. And it just never was a great place for the beach due to the wave action. And it just blows a lot of algae there. And we checked with the residents around there and they would rather the beach not be there. So since we have that little pavilion at the top, we're going to take the beach and turn that into a pollinator garden as well. So that'll be an amazing complement and it'll really boost. And we got a rain garden not far from there. We've got other rain gardens at the liquor store. We have around the shoreline. And I just wanted to say too that this is something, all these plants, you can plant them in your own yard. And we have this really cool program for all Dakota County residents called Landscaping for Clean Water with the Dakota County Soil and Water Conservation District. They're doing all the classes online this year. It's a free intro class. You can just go to their website and tell them you're interested. And they often have, they always have $250 grants available for the purchase of plants. So you can kind of watch this all in your own yard. So it's a very good opportunity if you're not aware of that.
And Marcia Cook, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
Okay. And I have a question. Could you enlarge a little bit on the insect hotel? How do you construct the rooms? And could you mention a little bit about that, please?
Yeah, no, we just purchased that guy. We looked around. We didn't have time to get any. It's totally something that Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts, they can do. There's lots of different things you can find online as far as, what are they called, plans to do it. But yeah, you just every so many years, and this might be a year that I need to go out there and add new pine cones. And you just kind of put the mesh back up and it just kind of holds those things in place. What's most unique is those little, I think they're bamboo, and they have the different openings. That's really important for all the solitary bees that live out there. And it gives them a place that won't be taken down. They might do that in a stem or something somewhere else. But if you have it in something like an insect hotel, which, by the way, I have seen little guys, very cute, about, yay big, at Costco in the spring. So maybe they're gone by now, though. They're so fast.
Anne, this is Steve Alofka. Thank you for the presentation this morning. I, too, was part of the initial planting, and it was a lot of fun. Hoping that another opportunity the next time we look for things to get our hands dirty and to be able to actively be able to participate. And, obviously the last month or so, we haven't been able to do any of those types of things. But if you or the city could, we really welcome the invitation to help again if we can get it on our calendar. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, I'll make a note of that. Yeah, it was really fun. Thanks for being there.
Steve, this is Jim Christian, and thank you for that picture in the background. And I think, if I recall correctly, Dan Forrest, who was in the background behind Steve, was the one that really initiated that pollinator garden, Dan Forrest. And he was a member of our club. He's now down in Waseca.
And thank you, Jim. And that's why I chose his picture rather than yours.
Give credit where credit is due. Yeah, he was. Yep, absolutely.
Excuse me, Ann. My name is Peg Duno, and I'm actually was involved in doing the grant.
Great.
My only thing I'm asking is that there is a district program being put together about pollination gardens in the area that Rotaries have done. Is it possible for me to get some of these films and pictures from you?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Can you give me your phone number?
Yeah, really probably the best way to reach me. I mean, I guess the phone number was at the end of each one of those. It's 952-985-4528. And the easiest email that if you could send me an email, you could send it to environmental@lakevillemn.gov.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Hi, Ann. Emily Williams here. Just point out to everyone. Ann's one of our neighbors, and the basketball mom and her daughter also played on our daughter's football team. So we have a lot of associations with Ann. But I was just going to ask about, I've read about pollinator parkways. Would that be something? I mean, I feel like the parkways might be a better way for the general public to see what's happening and to enjoy the beauty of these pollinator areas. Is that something that could possibly be feasible in the Lakeville area?
Yeah, I would say the county and the city, we're always looking at these greenways, and I know there's more initiatives going forward instead of just mowing and just stopping at that around a trail. We are looking at improving the habitat around all those areas and adding in all, flowering plants and native plants to support the pollinators. There's another thing out there through the Board of Water and Soil. I missed resources. There we go. They have a program as well called Lawns to Legumes that's been very popular. It's very much like our Landscaping for Clean Water. It offers money to put in these things. So really it is great when like neighborhood groups, associations can get together and pick an area. I know with the Dakota County Soil and Water, they have bigger grants available for those sorts of things to go in. So it's definitely supported by the government in the area.
How do I do that to my lawn so I don't have to mow anymore?
Yeah, it's the Lawns to Legumes. We're in a prime area, a target area for this. So there's different things you can seed and plant in your lawn. So check out that Lawns to Legumes program. Just type it in, it'll pop up for you. And yeah, you can do that instead of your lawn or pick bigger areas. Yeah, I don't like mowing either.
And this is Greg Paterka. Very nice presentation, by the way.
Thank you.
Question, can you elaborate a little bit more on the spring burn? How do you do it? How extensively do you do it? How often do you anticipate doing it?
Yeah, it's nice that Valley Lake is kind of an area that it is possible to do a burn because there aren't houses right up close to it. It works. I like burning in the fall better for flowers because it doesn't stunt them back at all, but it does such a good job of putting the nutrients back in the soil and creating a better medium for the plants to grow through, and it'll really make it thrive in the future. It happens by prayer restorations. They just call our fire department and they tell them, hey, we're gonna go do this prescribed burn up there at this location. It'll be super easy because there's nothing around it. They'll be able to get in and get out in a very brief period of time. So it's a pretty safe location to burn at, and so preferable. And we tend to do those every 3 to 5 years. Yeah.
Good. Thank you.
You're welcome. We did one out, at the East Community Woods, which isn't far from Valley Lake. And we did it in the woods, and the area that we did the burn is significantly better than all the rest of the wooded area. It's really amazing, and how the native plants thrive with burning. It's very important.
Cool.
Yeah.
And what can you tell us about the irrigation? You said so there's minimal irrigation, or there's no irrigation, or what?
None.
Okay.
Yep, we only watered at the beginning to make sure the plugs were establishing, and we haven't had to water since.
Cool.
Yeah, it's very handy. So if you change your lawn over to a pollinator-friendly place, either with native plants or the clovers or the things that they offer, you don't need to irrigate, and that saves a lot of money in the water bill and really helps with water conservation. Thank you.
And this is Ken Mosier. Excellent presentation. I think it was very informative. The one thing I would maybe ask you to comment on is for folks that may not be, weren't around when we did the original pollinator garden, comment a little bit about what the importance of the pollinator garden is for and how it relates to the food chain.
Sure. Yeah. So when you see just a square of grass, that's really not doing much to support anything. It's just there for our viewing pleasure, I guess. But a pollinator garden is way more of a viewing pleasure because by using native plants, you're really creating what used to be around. Vast seas of grass is not helpful for our pollinators, and pollinators are important because they kind of support over 2/3 of the food that we eat. We need them for that, and by providing their habitat and food source, we're able to protect our future and have things like apples and strawberries and everything else that they pollinate, which is a huge amount of things. So any support we can give them is super important because insects are one of the early tiers on a food chain. So they support the birds, which supports, it's the food chain, all web connected. So by starting there and helping them, it's a very good way to ensure our health as well.
Does this garden or pollinator gardens in general, do they help with some of the issues that we've been hearing about the bees over the last couple of years?
Definitely. The decline of the bees and all the other pollinators is, lack of habitat, probably as well as a bunch of chemical use. So the more we can not use chemicals on lawns like we typically do, the prescribed stuff that you do on a lawn, a typical lawn company will say you need to do 6 different treatments on your lawn. You can totally get away with just 2, by the way. They really try to push it, and then those chemicals get out there, and when neighborhoods pick up that, which they have, and then it just gets widespread. So when people are now turning around, we've seen like with the Landscaping for Clean Water program, there are now over 500 funded projects that have gone in was it just Lakeville? Now I'm forgetting, but yeah, I think so. Over the last 10 years or so, it starts to turn that tide around. And then you do start seeing things like all of a sudden you might see birds that you typically haven't seen in a while, they'll show back up. And there has been some of that, but the more and more we can do, obviously, is still needed because they need some more support.
Hey, Ann, could you repeat that email again?
Environmental
at Lakeville something?
Yep, at lakevillemn.gov.
Got it. Thank you.
You're welcome. Are there
And
any
by
other
the
questions? Oh, sorry.
I was just going to say, just a reminder, we do have this recorded. So if anybody wants to go back and check on that, wants to review it, all that information will be available on the recording. So, any other questions from anyone?
This is Skip Thaler. Ann, great job. We've done the pollinator garden at our lake home in Wisconsin, and
beautiful.
Just warn anybody that it's a lot of work. Okay.
It's not like set it and forget it. You're right.
And if you want to replace your lawn, you better take a second look at it in terms of work effort, because it does take a lot of time. But the rewards are great.
They are. Yeah, when you, the things that they're having you replace things with the lawn are kind of like sweet clovers and things, which some other people hate because they want it out of their lawn. So you kind of just have to keep a border around. But that is a little less intensive. But yes, your beautiful garden, if that's it behind you, yeah, that takes a little more work, and you got to learn the plants so you're not pulling the wrong thing, and just kind of keeping an eye on it. But it is, like you said, very, very satisfying.
Thank you.
Good to point out, though. Thank you.
Thanks, Skip. Yeah, I always find it interesting. We spend a lot of effort and time and resources trying to push back what Mother Nature wants to bring forward, and trying to substitute other grasses and other things that we think are a better idea. So, any other questions? Good discussion this morning. Well, Ann, really appreciate you being here with us this morning. I think it was a good way to get an update. And I echo Steve's comments. Basically, if you see an opportunity, if there's something coming down the pike with the city where we could partner with the city again and do that, by all means, please keep us in mind. And we will make sure we keep in touch with you. Maybe we'll have you come back again for another update. But thank you very much. Appreciate you coming out this morning. Thank you. Okay. Happy dollars. That time in the program. Do we have any happy dollars this morning? Everybody happy? I like your backdrop there, Steve.
That better? Can you hear me?
Oh, there you are. Okay, sure.
Yeah, I have a happy dollar. Last night I had a visit from Alan Williams, who dropped off some stuff from Rotary. And I got to tell you, the first couple people I gave it to brought tears to their eyes. And so it's very much appreciated. You guys do great things, and I can't thank you enough. It was beyond generous. Thank you.
Well, you're very welcome, Steve. And obviously we feel like we have a strong and special relationship with Brackets as well. So please pass along our regards.
Thank you.
Ken, this is Kenny Closter down in North Mankato. I have a happy dollar. You can have Kathy bill me for it. My wife and I were pleasantly surprised on Sunday afternoon. We were just relaxing around the house, and my phone rang, and here it was a FaceTime from my dad, who is 89 years old and in the VA home in Laverne. And so one of his assistants at the home there had dialed us up on FaceTime, so we were able to have a nice little physically distanced, socially connected visit with Dad. So very happy about that.
Now, I can imagine those are special moments, especially in the time we're in right now.
Hey, Ken, I've got a happy dollar for Paul Marzan. Last Sunday, Paul hosted Pastor Bill Boleyn to a sermon at the Crossroads Church. And it was great to see Bill Boleyn back in action.
I bet.
I got a happy dollar. My daughter and her boyfriend moved out last weekend finally. But that's the boyfriend that has the lizards. And he left me with his lizards. So
he left the lizard?
And I was just informed my other daughter's going to move back in. So that's just the way it is. You're at a stage of life now where it's a revolving door.
Hey, Richard, when did you discover they moved out?
Well, it only took me a couple of days to figure it out this time. Last time they moved out like a week earlier, so.
You know, Richard, if you fillet those lizards, they're not bad.
You know, I could maybe use that some leverage because I don't know why they left them here. I mean, they could have taken them with them. So I'll tell them it's either that or it's going to turn into a wallet.
they taste like armadillo.
Not chicken, huh?
Not chicken. Just to be clear, if there's any anti-lizard support out there, we're not doubling down on the lizards here. So.
Or equal opportunity.
Well, I have a happy dollar for our virtual 501 last week. I thought it went well, and as you heard Ken report, we'll have some more going forward. Also, if there's any suggestions from anybody, if there's other venues, other opportunities we'd like to pursue, by all means, let us know. Any other happy dollars? Oh, well, thanks again to our speaker, Ann Messerschmidt, for coming out this morning from the city. We really appreciate that. Also like to thank our guest, Mr. Murphy, Mr. McCaffrey. Murph, I like that truck background there.
He looked a little grouchy this morning. I thought I'd put a smile on his face for you.
Okay.
Thanks, Murph.
We appreciate that.
Always love Ford trucks.
And Murphy's always giving, and Murphy's are always there for us. So come back and join us anytime. Love to have you.
Yeah.
Kenny Klusner, any closing comments from you?
The only thing I would add is just a couple things from the district. Of course, I know I'm preaching to the choir here, but a couple of emails Kathy sent out earlier this week regarding the Disaster Response Fund grant that the district was awarded for $25,000. We also have a district-sponsored grant. Those are due coming up on May 1st. Would encourage everyone to go to the district calendar. We have our Friday feature coming up tomorrow morning. Kyle Haugen will be presenting on the Rotary Foundation. And would like to thank you for adding your club meetings to the district calendar. So it makes it easy for all the district Rotarians. So every meeting I'm visiting, I'm encouraging them to do that. So thank you all very much.
Well, thanks, Kenny. Always good to have you here. Yes, Peg.
Kenny, thank you for bringing up that grant, the Rotary International grant. If anybody has any ideas for Lakeville, we are going to go for part of that grant. We can get up to, well, $2,500 and then match $2,500. It has to be something within the community that we can actually, it has a budget and then we can actually have receipts for. But I've been kind of canvassing around and I haven't found anything yet. So if anybody has an idea, please contact me. Okay?
Say, Peg, this is Kenny. Yeah. One thing we are looking at in Mankato is when I brought up visiting with my dad on Sunday virtually, we have roughly 12 assisted living nursing homes in the area here. Best Buy has a deal going on right now, $50 per device, and purchasing some of those, giving them to the nursing homes, the assisted living facilities, so that those individuals that are, shut off from the world right now have the ability to connect. So just an idea we're working on here.
Okay, thank you.
That's a great idea, Kenny. And thank you, Peg. If, as she said, if there's any additional suggestions that you come across, by all means, feed those in. And what's the deadline for this matching grant? We have to have it in by May 1st. Is that right?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay.
So
Okay.
this is Judy. Are we going to be getting, are connected to Lakeville, the Lakeville Cares, to make sure that they funnel requests over to us to help?
I've been checking that, Judy. I haven't seen anything on there yet that would qualify for it.
Okay.
If you see anything, please get a hold of me right away.
Okay.
I can put this together pretty fast, but I've got to have an idea.
Okay.
And a budget.
Okay. Well, thank you for that. One thing I was impressed with this week, if you saw in the newsletter, there was a joint statement by all of the four major service organizations in the country: Kiwanis, Lions, Optimist, and Rotary, which I thought was a really significant show of support and expression of support, where they're all of these organizations are coming together. So I think that's another opportunity I see with this Lakeville Cares is that we can make sure that we're stretching out across the service organizations we have in the community, which I think is very good. So, okay, so with that, I think it's time for the four-way test. Don't forget the Taste of Lakeville meeting coming up after here. So unless there are any other questions or suggestions, is it the truth?
Is it fair to all
concern? Will it build goodwill and better friendship? Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Take care, all.
Thanks, everybody. Have a good weekend. We'll see everybody next week.
Good meeting, Ken. Thanks, Ann.
Just remember, if you're Taste of Lakeville, please stay on for the Taste of Lakeville meeting. We'll take a short break.
Thank you, everyone, for having me. Have a good day.
Thanks, Ann.
Thanks, Ann.
You're welcome.
Okay, great. Like Kathy was saying, couple minute break and we'll be right back. Thanks.